So they've got to take advantage of that off the start whilst Daryl's waiting to get those supers. Once they start chaining in, and obviously with the rework, he's got 2 rolls now instead of 1, so the mobility on this map has just increased 2-fold, and the ability to kind of roll over the water as well really puts him in a good position on this map.
Worth bearing in mind as well that this Colt can start to blow up the map crucially. So that silver bullet gadget can be used to remove some of the boxes or the walls to give him a better line, or to further expose SK Gaming to the long-range poke that this team has. SK have to commit. They're going to have to go all in. But what better player to put in a difficult position on this Daryl than Lenar? Arguably the best tank player in Europe, maybe even the world. He's made it this far now. SK always look to set him up. They always look to put him in a position to succeed. And we're moments away, folks. The energy already reaching fever pitch. It's time to kick off that first semi-final. SK Gaming versus Humble.
Well, instantly they know where Lenane's going with the launch pad over the right-hand side. Managed to pick one up, but there you see the gadget from B coming in. Rattled Hive gets the kill. Boss managing to add some damage to the safe. Only 3% so far, but not a bad start for Humble.
Semantic slowed up briefly. That is a free time to collect by Joker out of the safe. Yoshi tries to go for the super to shut down Semantic, but it misses. He's dodging everything with those supers. Yet another Slashini. But SK have that narrow lead early.
Yeah, really good positioning for Lenane though here, and Luki round the back has to use that Rattled Hive once more. Still, just staying back on defense, allowing his teammates to do some work, and they do still have a narrow lead. Boss in a good position to add some more damage to the safe. Eventually pinched in there, but Lenane's going up top and getting kills. Still, pretty even in terms of damage as Semantic cleans Lenane up in the back lines, and Boss in a good position once more.
SK let Semantic have a crack at their safe, Trav, and it brought it down to 75%. Boss with a free bullet storm there brings SK's down now to 66. Lenar doesn't want to telegraph a launch pad use here. It's going to be another Slashini from Semantic, but Joker is still healthy. Now with a hypercharge available, it's got to be careful. Semantic catches him through the wall. Boss with a hypercharge now, and Yoshi can't face tank it. He has to let the safe get chunked down. Semantic dodges more damage with yet another super. He is such a menace.
A rare mistaken super in there from Lenane as well. Did allow Boss to get some more damage onto it. Now the hypercharge comes through, and that's going to be 25% on safe, closing the gap to about 30. Luki coming back out of spawn. A few more walls broken by Boss, and Semantic having a real tough time once those walls did go down. Lenane rolling on him, but should be done quite swiftly. But Joker gets the super unsafe. Hypercharge comes in from Yoshi. All down to Boss to get the defense, and he's dead too.
Dangerous now. Yoshi and Joker not the best at damaging a safe. And they can't give SK a lead, but Joker should be one shot away from super, which means yet another time to collect, and there it is.
Luki with super in hand as well, might be able to get Joker here.
Great hive.
And a wonderful kill from Boss, slicing through the mid now. Semantic and Luki will be joining him. Boss in a good spot, 75, and it's there. Can't tank it out, and Humble starts strong.
Make the smallest mistake, and Humble are going to punish you for it. Once they sink their teeth in, they will never let go. Just a little too much damage taken there by SK Gaming. One of those later fights gives Humble all the lead they need.
Well, Semantic free roam through the mid here and moving on still. Gadget being used there as well, considered getting out, but he just carries on going in. And this is huge off the start already. Already 50% of the SK stage gone, and Semantic still lives.
Joker hit nobody with that time to collect. He's unable to cycle supers effectively. Luki doing whatever he has to here just to pelt this safe down. Here's Semantic into the back line yet again, 22% and counting. Humble are going to run away with this one. Another super from Semantic. He's happy with the damage he's got right now. A dash and a slash, 3% on the safe here, and SK Gaming are barely clinging on.
Beaten down. Humble have been all over this. Double slow as well, buying some more time for Humble to get back in. Lenane with a beautiful 1-2 roll to the right-hand side. Now the hypercharge comes in from Joker. It's going to have to be perfect from SK. And Joker falling fairly low, got your gadget used to get him back into the mix. But a lot of work still to be done.
What is Lenar doing over here? Can't build a super right now. Has to wait it out. Has it online here. Semantic comes forward, slowed up, of course, by the primary fire of Yoshi, and Boss comes in. He doesn't hit the safe with that hypercharged super, though. Joker falls. Yoshi has to body block all of this damage now. The Colt is a legitimate threat. And eventually, it all comes crumbling down for SK. Humble starts with a set lead.
Some questioned whether Humble had been challenged on the way to the semis. And I think they're here to prove a point against SK Gaming, starting off so strong, and especially in the second game, SK didn't get a look at it.
few problems with this composition for SK. First of all, there's no legitimate answer to the Kenji. There are some options, sure, but when you pick Colette first, Humble are not going to select tanks. Kenji is healthy, but not a true tank in nature. And frankly, Gale is not enough to shut him down either. Humble have so much more damage, and the B pick is Giga Brain, because Luki gets to spend all game sitting behind all this threat being attracted by Semantic. He just gets shot after shot on the safe. And Semantic, even with everybody looking at him, still gets to walk up and do things like this. That should be legal. Look at Luki's damage, man.
I mean, that's huge. Almost 500 DPS for Luki on the B. Honestly, upon watching those replays, some pretty abysmal rolls from Lenane there, and they're hard to come by. On a map like Safe Zone, you have to make use of them. Yes, occasionally he was getting some kills. He managed to get 5, which isn't bad for an assassin on that map. But at the same time, he's the damage dealer. He needs to be in there getting damage on the Safe, and a lot of the time, he's just missing the opposition's brawlers.
There's too much open ground to cover on Safe Zone. Yes, you can make use, of course, of your Gale gadget, use the jump pad, but it's very obvious when you're trying to do that. And if you don't already have a super developed, you can't close the gap effectively at all. 1-0 favouring Humble in this best of 5, and Canal Grande is on the docket next.
Well, Bounty should slow things down a little bit after that heist game. It was quite explosive from Humble, at least. SK still got a lot to prove in the semi-finals. Bans coming in then. We've got the Tick, Kenji, and Daryl from the side of Humble, and the Mo, Angelo, Kenji from the side of SK Gaming. Pretty good bans across the board, getting a lot of those real heavy hitters off the map.
They're very common bans plus a targeted ban over towards Lenan. No Daryl available. Compositions on this map, we've seen a bunch before, but Gene often gets banned out in these Bounty game modes. Humble see it slip through and they snap him up.
Yeah, huge turnaround potential from that brawler. 1 magic hand or 3, if you've got the hypercharge, can make a real big difference to how that game turns out. SK Gaming will have the following 2 picks though, and although I really like Gene on this map, I'm not too convinced of its first pick potential. I do like the brawler, but I feel like there could have been better answers to kind of SK's game plan, who seem to be always so aggressive. Not the most DPS from Humble to start things out.
Still plenty of throwers available yet. Larry and Laurie getting picked up here, the most powerful thrower in the game, getting through the ban phase. So both teams actually taking picks that are often taken out of the draft straight away, just because we're getting rid of Angelo, Mo, and Kenji. RT, a very solid follow-up here for SK.
Yeah, really smart picks from SK Gaming for what Larry and Laurie said. Probably the best thrower in the game at the moment, so really strong pick. And Lenane, with that new introduction as well of being able to float that top portion of your body over the water, it should come into some effect on Canal Grande at least. I'm not sure if it makes the biggest difference, considering you don't really veer too far away from your legs when you use that. You try to get the big
only when the gas is coming in, right? That's the only time you want to make that play. And either way, RT is very strong in that phase of the game. So, Humble, to follow up this Gene here, it's a safe first pick. They go for Barley, so they want to take a thrower that outranges Larry and Laurie and also has utility in the form of that healing tonic. There's a lot of healing already for Humble.
Yeah, a lot as well. So we'll see the hypercharge should be thrown down from Barley a few times during this as well, which makes him just that little bit better too. 2 hypercharges to the side of Humble now and 0 still over on SK's. So that can make a big difference in those closing second with the speed boost as well.
I mean, yeah, Barley with that hypercharge kind of fulfills the same role we see Brock on this map take. Being able to blow up those bushes with your hypercharge is very powerful. It's just what Rocket Rain is used for when Brock is selected. It's all open, by the way, but Surge here coming out from Humble.
I quite like that pick. You know, they're accounting for a possibility of something more aggressive, which when you've got a Gene and a Barley, you kind of have to do. Not the highest DPS brawlers and will be taken care of by an assassin, and we know whose kind of forte that is on the opposing side. SK Gaming is still having their last pick and kind of having to rethink, as I'm sure the tank would have been what they kind of go for.
Surge is so powerful when you are all leading towards the end of a round, right? You have lots of levels, level 3 or 4, and you make use of that power shield gadget to get ammo refunded instantly. You can just vomit 5 shots out. And it will be a Piper here to round out the setup for SK Gaming. A lot of sharpshooters. Clearly, they want to stay out of Humble's reach as much as they can. But again, Barley pretty annoying here for these sharpshooters, especially if you can make use of those walls adequately. And Boss may not want to break up too much of the map if you can help it.
Seems to me like if Humble can get control early on, SK are going to have a nightmare in set 2 as well as set 1. But it all depends on that. Boss using a gadget to get out of spawn with some extra speed and move into this bush early on. But he finds a Larry and Laurie facing him. There's the healing tonic from Luki to be able to get control of this left-hand side without putting his teammates at risk.
Joker on the Piper quietly, hugely impactful over the last couple of days. Doesn't need to be a high flyer here, just needs to hit the shots. And he gets to play a nice little off angle now that will force Humble to group and come forward. Boss flashing that gadget already. Lukey takes a hit, and that's the homemade recipe. Hits the spot.
Boss really needs a super if he gets stuck at level 1. He's going to have some big issues. Joker using the super to break up some of the bush on the right-hand side. Took a few walls with it as well. But still, those unbreakable ones do remain. Semantic getting hit in the face quite heavily. And both of those on the left-hand side have to back up, forcing this 1v1 thrower matchup on the right-hand side. And so far, that's going in Lukey's favor, and SK are pinned in spawn. But it is only 1 star between them.
Lorry available here as well for Yoshi. Something that's very good at pressuring throwers down will force Lukey to spend some ammo, but Yoshi's holding onto it for now. Maybe to just sort of relieve some pressure when it gets too much. Here's Joker with the hypercharge, trying to take these shots. Lorry is out, and Lukey is headed for the heals. Does not want to try and contend with this spawnable. Some free damage and a lot of map control yielded as a result of that, but eventually Humble moved back into an aggressive footing.
Yeah, it seems like Humble have full faith in Semantic hitting this pull, and that's exactly what they need at the moment. Only 30 seconds on the clock and no real moves being made. Starting to inch forwards now, and SK Gaming have nowhere to run. The back's against the wall. Semantic has
getting
this
there.
pull, wants it. 2 of them line up. LNA pulled in and taken out by Humble, backing up behind these walls.
Death, taxes, and a Semantic pull, baby, all guaranteed. And that gives Humble the lead. Now SK Gaming need to find a way to derive an advantage by being down 1 star. Joker takes a big hit. Here's the last call to create that map control in Lenar. He's got to go for Lukey. 1 more shot would do it. His gadget won't be enough to get the kill. But SK Gaming, it's Joker that gives them the lead. What a comeback.
What was Semantic doing? Completely out of position on the left-hand side. I was looking at Lukey making mistakes, and more of the same over the left-hand side. He got the pull and got them the lead, but also made them lose.
No one is better inside 3 seconds of a bounty round than SK Gaming. What they did yesterday at Zeta Division just blew my mind. They are so composed when it really matters. And a good start already, laying Semantic low, forcing a healing gadget from Lukey.
Some good control early on once more from Humble, but Blue Star is with them this time, and nobody on the Humble side has fallen. Which means SK are eventually going to have to push into this Humble roster. And with all this control, it's not going to be the easiest task.
You see the difficulty for Yoshi. He is outranged mostly by Luca, and he's actually trying to opt out of a direct matchup against this Barley. Because it's quite frustrating to try and get that damage in. Good pressure, another healing tonic drawn out of the Barley.
Yoshi trying to move along the right-hand side. The exact same matchups as last game, and for the most part, they went in Humble's favor, but SK Gaming know when to get those kills and know how to do it as well. Boss still remains at level 1, as I think he did in the last game until the closing seconds as well. Homemade recipe already selected for Joker, and he's not going to find anybody with it.
But now, good tap here on Semantic. Joker getting a little close for comfort here. Able to pop the super and get away. Map opened up a little bit more now, makes it harder for Humble to move up behind cover. 50 seconds left here, and Humble have that blue star. That's the difference here.
SK still got a lot of ground to gain if they want to get this game back. Lenane moving forwards, pulls available for Semantic, but he gets it run straight into him. The knockback's there and they get the kill as well. Risky game, but it pays off once more for Humble.
Joker could have had a kill there. Onto Boss, I think. Homemade recipe just didn't quite connect. Semantic's gonna hide. Humble have no reason to get too aggressive, but note that they're maintaining this map control in the mid. Again, Joker tries to come forward, get a lucky shot. Has to back off. Very, very low to Lukey's damage now as Lenar's trying to relieve the pressure for Yoshi across the map. Joker's down. Lukey got him in max range, and a 5-star lead might be too much for SK to make up, but in they come anyway. Semantic a little low. Yoshi needs time to heal, but he also needs to hit some of these shots. He's got no choice but to go for it. And SK Gaming just pull up short.
Got one, but not quite enough for SK Gaming. Couldn't pull off the miraculous comeback twice in a row. And Humble stayed calm, stayed composed, and got another win on the board. Now just 1 stands between them and 2 sets. But if SK get it, we're back to 1-1.
The Barley is doing so much here for Humble, Trav. That is difficult to deal with. Lukey, young rookie of the year 2023. And Boss says, I'll just take this blue star, I guess. Tap down pretty low though. No gadget use there though from the RT.
Yoshi kept low. Not healing up just yet, and Boss looking for the pinch. Wants this level 2. Obviously has a few gadgets along the game to get that extra boost of speed to get him in, get him out of places. Last call already coming in, and what a time to get it as well. All of them pinned back into spawn. And it seems SK are trying something different this time, moving Yoshi over to this left-hand side and having the 3 versus 2, but eventually rotating over. And that's not going to still, even 2v1, be the best matchup for SK.
Yeah, the barley pressure is just too much for them, I think. Luki finally takes a hit. This lets Yoshi move up a little further, but he remains outranged by the enemy barley, and Semantic lends some magic puff healing over to the bartender. Lenar just doesn't have a shot on Boss right now. He's transitioning over towards the left. Lenar able to pick him off. There it is. SK in the lead by 1. Semantic comes forward now. What a whiff of the magic hand. And Semantic's got to run. He's low.
I mean, Yoshi was blissfully unaware to the super as well, and Semantic still manages to miss it. Boss gonna need a level 2 if they want to get back into this game and take this set. Only 1 star up, and it is the blue star along with it as well, but Yoshi gaining some decent ground on the right-hand side. Luki trying to move up, gets behind the unbreakable wall and positions himself for a late game push.
Lenar here super up. He's not going to use it until the end of the round. Semantic's low. He gets away. It's a stay of executioner down the right-hand side. Last call to force Yoshi back. 16 seconds. 15 now as Lenar tries to hold position, but it's going to be Boss coming forward. Hypercharge pot for Joker if he needs to escape. Lenar, 5 HP, Lenar! Joker able to get out there with the pop, and Semantic takes a hit, but he's got to come forward. 3 stars is the difference, and they get the gene! That'll get the job done! SK Gaming even up the series.
Seemed like a chance for Humble, but cut short once more by SK. 1-1 as they manage to take Canal Grande.
This is something SK do so well, Trav. They literally spend 95% of the round losing sometimes before coming back and taking it. They're dealing with the range supremacy that Luki has had and has been exercising on them. It's Semantic.
What is he doing?
So far forward there.
It's a free game if he backs off. I don't know if he thought maybe the pinch was going to be on Luki, but didn't really seem anywhere near at risk on the right-hand side, for me at least. Stepping out of line, I mean, it comes with the territory.
Oh.
They're on stage, the nerves are high. But what a pull that was, just the wrong player to pull, as Joker has that popping to get out, and Lenane would have flipped the game if he managed to get him. Very unfortunate for Humble, but great play by SK.
Direct hit for Gene is about 2200 damage. Would have been able to knock Joker out there. The lamp blowout used to try and stun Joker and delay the pop-in, but he still gets that super off and he gets out to safety. Joker 284 DPS. The collapse, I think, on the Boss was the difference maker there. Joker able to take some shots. Lenar as well. They're working on opposite angles against the Surge. They get a little 2v1 on the left-hand side of the map, and they turn that into a star lead. And at that point, Humble had to take risks to try and equalize.
I mean, Humble so far have seemed like the team who weren't really letting nerves affect them, but it seemed like they started to creep through during that set. And on center stage in Brawl Ball, they've got to change things, change their ways if they're going to want to be able to move up against SK once more. As we head into Brawl Ball, it gets a bit more aggressive, and I feel like this favors both teams quite heavily.
Will Humble take a set back? Will Trav ever forgive Semantic for that overstep?
No.
Stick around to find out, I guess. All right, heading into Brawl Ball here, we have a Gale banned by SK Gaming. They get out of the way straight away now. That seems pretty telegraphed here. Looking for a max.
That's bold.
First pick.
Very bold. But, I mean, it works. It can work occasionally. I don't love it as a first pick, but it's their play style. If they can add some tanks to it, they've banned out the Gale, they've banned out an Otis, which is a wild ban, I will say, in itself. So they might be gearing up to try and play some tanks.
They're going to play a tank, right? Otis, as we've recently seen, is just devastating on these kind of maps. I think Humble have read into this. Picking up the Frank. Now, Daryl is a decent answer to this. Daryl can interrupt Frank's super with that super of his own. That little knock-up is enough to cancel it out. That's what we saw happen to Shtitampo, I think, as he tried to play the Frank and looked pretty average on it on day number 1. Humble get the tank. Now what? They've really tipped their hands here, though. Surge has been banned by Humble. They're trying to deal with any potential tank counters. That's why Clancy has also been wiped off. Kenji is still open.
I mean, a Frank first pick is wild. They're going to go with Amber.
They're ready for a tank.
Yeah, breaking up some of those grass, some of that grass as well, I should say. But you know, as you said, the Daryl's still on the table to be able to counteract that Frank. The Primo as well through center stage works so well, and SK play it incredibly too. The Primo plays that they managed to pull off throughout this year have been, you know, next to none. But obviously, still 2 picks for them. I don't mind the Amber, obviously coming in, breaking up the bushes. That's the whole point of center stage. You have that incredibly bushy area around the mid. And with the Frank, one hypercharge and all of the walls and bushes go. And Amber obviously a little bit easier to get that done earlier on in the game. SK go the Colette, completely pivot off what seems, or what it seemed they were going to be going.
They are serial Colette pickers when it comes to Brawl Ball here, and the Kenji to finish the lineup. Kenji is answered by tanks. Lenar, of course, we saw Colette from SK Gaming on a previous Brawl Ball round yesterday. It was fine. They had Colette and Gale as well. It's odd now, maybe they might have wished they'd left that in the rotation. I think this has been a pivot from SK Gaming away from a tank composition. Seeing Amber and Frank picked up back-to-back, they're looking for a different approach.
Yeah, I mean, just wild drafts, really. And a Sandy comes in as well.
Okay.
Listen, I love a Sandy. I absolutely love it, but it kind of seems like it's going to be a bit susceptible to that Kenji, the assassin. Hasn't got much DPS, but Sweet Dreams can do some wonders in front of goal. So I don't hate the pick. Obviously, the amount of vision you're going to be able to get with the Super, with the Root Sands, it can work. But I'm looking at SK's comp and I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Absolutely. Humble do have a lot of map control, both through bush destruction and, of course, that Sandy Super. 2 stuns as well between the Frank and the Sandy. A lot to work with, but SK Gaming, off the back of a victorious set, now step out with this Colette Kenji max composition.
I mean, so far so good. As Semantic just beelining towards the goal. Might be able to get a gadget off here, and Yoshi actually patches it straight over to that right-hand side once more. Luki gonna go down as Joker comes in, but Yoshi's so low. So many heals when you've got your gadget of Frank, though. And Boss looking for some shots of his own. Got a super ready, but Yoshi will send him all the way back to spawn.
Almost daring, I think, the Sandy to use yet another Sweet Dreams gadget, but I think they know they have to hold on to those for the Kenji. I think we might have seen 2 Amber gadgets used here, I'm not sure. And Semantic able to take Lenar down. Frank, definitely an issue for the Kenji. Yoshi, though, perfectly designed to deal with these big bodies, and Semantic will fall.
Yeah, Boss throws out a super there. I'm sure they'd have liked the Frank to be along with them for the ride. But Joker falls low on the right. Lenane starts to make a push through this mid. Boss gonna use the Sweet Dreams, but his Root Sand instantly cancels it out, and Lenane was back in action. Luki will fall too, and Lenane going wild.
Semantic here, gadget used, but nobody brought in. He's low, going for the super. Yoshi tried to interrupt it with that super. No connection, and Semantic gets what he came for there. In goes Lenar, caught out though, the Sandy damage is real. Semantic will lead the way with a stun. Taken out, but Boss is here, healthy enough to walk it in.
Just about as Joker started to flank around the back and get some damage. Hypercharge used, and now Yoshi's has been charged. Lenane's got his super. Moving forwards, he's slicing through Luki here, but Semantic's there and waiting. Hypercharge as well. Can Semantic keep him off the ball? It's passed to the left, and SK equalize.
And now we start to see the game plan. Kenji dodging a lot of these Frank hits. And then hypercharge there from Joker. Boss hit by 1 slash of that, but it's going to be Lenar stunned up here. Yoshi able to take Boss down, but how are you going to stop this now? Push it. He got the goal anyway. Semantic, proud as a peacock right in front. It's a super shot for the game win.
Almost stopped by Yoshi, who had a phenomenal game all the way through, defeating so many of those humble brawlers, but still couldn't quite fend off this aggression that the Frank was bringing to the table. And he was dealing with the Kenji so well, predicting where he was going to land with the supers, with the gadgets, and taking him off the map.
He's an unreal role player, isn't he? Picking up a lot of these positions to try and stop tanks, for example, but this has gone terribly for SK. Humble, okay. Well, they'll take the first goal pretty comfortably.
And a hypercharge already available from Semantic. A lot of these walls taken out of the mix though, and Semantic now moving forwards, getting behind this wall. Wants to use it, moves that tiniest bit further forward, and Lenane will fall down. Yoshi now going to be super down by the Frank. Got a gotcha gadget shot in there as well. Boss, Sweet Dream still available. Chooses not to go for it, waiting it out. Frank's got the super. Use it. Joker grabs the ball, but double stun, and the lineup's perfect. Another one, but the ball can't be passed. Yoshi dodges, but Semantic secures 2 sets to 1.
Soak it up, Semantic. This is your moment. There's a Frank super at the end of that round. Joker phase shifts into it and gets stunned. He was probably hoping for it to be a little longer to try and overshoot the Frank to avoid it. But he miscalculates and gets caught. It all comes crumbling down after that for SK.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing for him. I think he was just trying to get the ball out and delay what Humble were trying to do. Maybe he had a teammate respawn, and that was so close as well. I mean, inevitably a goal regardless, as he could have just picked up the ball again on the same spot and scored it, but Humble played this so well. I mean, he goes for it, tries to get the ball to Lenane. I don't know if he thinks that Semantic's trying to super him, and maybe Lenane won't be affected by it. But in the end, they managed to force it through, and all three members of Humble were there to deal with the scraps. 10 kills and 481 for Semantic. But Yoshi over the other side trying to do as much as he can. Got so much DPS, but no matter how much DPS he got, Semantic had more.
Sorry, Semantic, 481 DPS against one of the most mobile compositions available in Brawl Stars right now. Lenar dashes as part of his basic attack. Joker has speed and, of course, a gadget to dodge. And yet Semantic, he gets it all, laughing all the way to the bank. Gotta feel like Colette was still the good pick here. Did a great job of putting pressure on Semantic, but again, when you see a Frank that's able to do so much, you've got to ask yourself, did we do enough to counter him?
The issue for me is, I'm kind of thinking that Kenji was the issue, and I never thought I'd be saying that in the current meta, that Kenji was the problem in a composition. But I don't feel like he did anything.
Not enough, either way. Time and time again, we watched Lenar get blown to smithereens. But now we put it behind us once more. Ring of Fire will be our fourth set, and for Humble, it might be all that stands between them and a grand finals berth. SK Gaming have some catching up to do, Trav.
Well, in comes the draft, and as you said, Ring of Fire is the map we're going on to. The Bell, Stu, and Clancy bands from SK Gaming. Humble, on the flip side, taking the Stu out the way, along with the Gus and Mo. So Kenji still surviving through this, but you kind of got to expect maybe an early surge pick, something like that. And we've seen a lot of teams kind of going anti-Kenji rather than picking it up.
Some teams are also still trying to get Lou on these hot zone maps. Ooh. All right, we are trying it again. SK determined to make this Kenji pick work. Suffice to say, Lenar wasn't quite set up for success in that previous map. Humble here have seen this one before. They know SK are consummate Kenji preferers. So what is the answer going to be? Note that Clancy and Mo unavailable. Also, Gus has been removed, so that's one of the tools that's often used to empower Kenji. That has been put by the wayside.
Well, I think we've kind of got to expect Surge. It's going to be the Amber coming through once more. It worked for them in the previous set. I'm sure they're going to be trying the exact same thing again. Obviously, with the Mythic gear, you have that slowing effect, well, slight slowing effect when your opposition stand in the oil. So if you're able to throw so much of that towards the zone and just kind of let it linger there, then it does do a lot of work without really showing too much.
Yeah, Amber are really quite dangerous. I mean, both of her Mythic gears are really, really good, but just being able to get more utility out of that oil spill as opposed to being some mild threat is pretty powerful. Also, Dancing Flames, very good against Kenji if he tries to move up on you. It's not bugged anymore, but it still does a healthy amount of damage. About 1,800 per flame. Ooh. Meg will be the second pickup here for Humble.
I mean, it's got a lot of DPS and a lot of health to play through this mid. I'd imagine they're kind of going to be using the star power, you know, going to be exploding, pushing Kenji back when coming aggressive and getting her out of that mech form. But SK Gaming still have another two picks. I wouldn't have really predicted either of these two brawlers from Humble, to be honest with you, to be played into Kenji. But they seem pretty decent to me. And obviously, something that's been so consistent for them all year long has been their drafts. And every time I question them, they seem to prove me wrong.
It's a pretty impressive comp for Humble. I mean, we know that Meg could just keep walking up onto the point here. Lola coming down for SK Gaming. Just incredible, you know, damage, and she basically operates within her optimal range on Ring of Fire. Can also play a off angle, pressure the right-hand side behind some of those barrels, or play back and control any push up the left. We've seen plenty of Surge on this map as well in the past.
I'd like to see a Surge, especially from Humble, but you got a question if SK Gaming are now kind of just going to take it, to move it out of their hands. Something like a Gale, still extremely viable for the Humble side as well, to be able to, yeah, they've gone for the Surge, just taking it out of their opposition's hands, and still, it's a capable brawler into both Meg and Amber alike, so very good pick from SK, I feel.
Again, you could be fed levels off that Meg. She is extremely immobile, but it's a threat of her torrential damage that tends to keep people away from her. Now Luki here saying, what is it going to be for me? What do we compare with this combination? Do we think we want some healing? Ooh. Yes! Berry comes out. One of the newest brawlers in the game. Berry is able to throw down these ice cream pools that heal over time. Pretty short range as far as throwers are concerned. Also has a super that lets him get a burst of mobility while dropping more of those ice cream fields. So it will be healing here to pair with Boss.
I like it. I mean, if you can chain enough supers off your teammates standing in that ice cream and getting the heals back, it's going to charge more and more and more every time they stand in it. So Berry, a very viable healer to have here along with the Meg and the Amber. Should be pretty mid-centric gameplay from the side of Humble, whereas SK might kind of fan out a bit more and come down the sides.
Here we go. Berry gets increased reload speed when he's standing in his own ice cream field with that star power he's picked up here. Now Lenar just doesn't have the damage to cut through this setup here for Humble. Yoshi trying to work that off angle. Hasn't built super yet. Isn't getting the free damage he was hoping for.
I mean, look at that. Genji already getting 2 supers. Like, they're just going to stand in these puddles and get them back. It's absolutely unreal from this Humble roster. You're going to see Lenane going caught again by that swing. And Semantic just suppressing him down this left-hand side, and it's 50-0 already.
And Luki is cycling these supers like you mentioned, Trav. He can dish out so much healing onto the map. He doesn't even really need to try and attack. Another super comes through, and again, it's more healing for Semantic. SK Gaming are rudderless.
They look lost. Lenane coming through the mid once more, eventually gets his super and gets some good damage in, but how much can he take himself? Not enough this time. Yoshi going to be looking for the shots back. Semantic still survives and might be able to 1v1 Joker out of the mech. 4% is all that's required, and they'll get just that. Humble, match point.
And they look composed. What a ridiculous composition. This Berry looks fantastic in this shell, combined with the Amber, who also wants to play around her own field effects, and the Meg, who just wants to stand there and get all the resources. SK Gaming, it's now or never. You need to figure this out.
Well, a little bit of a lane swap then for Lenane as he goes right instead of left this time, but so much damage can come in from Semantic, and their heals are there once more. Surely Lenane falls, but gets a lot of damage along the way too. And already, SK have got more percentage than the last, but still not looking the most healthy. Yoshi's going to fall down, and Joker backed off.
Humble swimming in an ice cream dream. Nothing SK can do is able to shift them right now. Luki spins back, super thrown out. Lenar sees an opportunity. He gets the berry. That's the healing gone, but those pulls are persisting. Yoshi moves up here. Again, Lenar has to do so much heavy lifting here. Eventually he's going to fall, but Joker did get a bit of extra percentage, and Luki needs to respect the Lola damage.
Super used, and that should provide Semantic with enough HP to stay in this mid and get some more percentage. Lenane once more flanking around the right-hand side, but found Joker, Yoshi both so low and still yet to get a level 2. Super comes in from Luki, does fall down along the way. Lenane goes in aggressive, but dealt with once more. And SK have a problem they can't solve.
No, I don't think this composition is it. I don't think they've been able to figure this out, and they're running out of time. 77% and counting. Joker loses the ego. Lenar suffers ego death as Humble push them back yet again. Joker at 400 eventually has to fall. Here's the slash teaming for Lenar, but that is just not going to cut it. Yoshi steps up, but those who humble themselves will be exalted. Semantic and the boys are headed to their first grand final.
SK fans distraught, but Humble carry on the consistent streak that they've had all year long, make it all the way to the grand finals.
And that man on your screen has suffered more disappointments than I would care to count. We've seen it every time.